Rachel Lee, welcome to the Further Forward podcast.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's so good to be here with you.
It is so nice to get to have this conversation, especially at this time. I think that so many people are wondering about the kind of work that you do, if it's for them, especially women. So I think this is very timely and I'm so excited.
Yes. And I feel like there's so much going on in our world, in our lovely, chaotic world right now.
Amen.
And I've been having a lot of interesting conversations with people this week, all my clients. And so I am also very excited to share kind of like what has been coming through in the client world and what might be applicable to the listeners as well.
Yes. Okay. We love it. I start every podcast episode the same way. Who are you and how are you?
So I am the founder of Ice Bath Boston and Breath, which is a one-to-one nervous system regulation studio. And I specialize in helping individuals who are struggling with anxiety, sleeplessness, panic attacks, ADHD, nervous system dysregulation that shows up in a myriad of ways, learning somatic tools that complement existing therapeutic medicinal approaches to be able to live their most joyful lives. I work with high performers as well. People who have been going, who don't know how to hit the brake, and to really learn how to use your body. And specifically, we use breathwork and cold water immersion to be able to teach these tools in a skill-based way. Nervous system regulation to me is like driving a car, and it's a skill that you learn exactly the same way. You learn it once, it takes a little bit of, it's terrifying, it takes a ton of energy, and then once you practice it over and over, it gets easier. Same thing with everything that I do. So we work with a wide variety of people in a long-term, in-depth capacity to help them lead the lives that they really want to be, to move them from dysregulation into safety and then into joy. And I also am a researcher. I spend 2 days a week studying breathing mechanics and developing cold water immersion protocols for all of those things above. But also I'm really interested in how cold water immersion can be used for menopausal symptoms, for PMDD, for endometriosis, particularly women's health. I just think there's a large untapped land there. So that is a good overview of who I am. In terms of how I'm doing, right? My response is my two responses I carry forward a lot are fine and dandy. Fine and dandy. And then the other is blessed and trying not to be stressed.
Yep. Totally. My similar, like, adjacent to that is blessed and stressed. I just fully
I love that.
fully own it. Thriving and surviving. You know, I'm in the messy middle and just owning that.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think we as humans, there was a beautiful meme I saw the other day. It was like, when you let people be human, it gets messy. And so I think when we really are living our authentic lives, I argue that there's nothing but the messy middle.
Right. I know. That's so true, actually. You know, when is it not? Or like one area will be really fine and beautiful, and then another area is just like, you know, almost like I think about my house right now. Like what you see in this recording is just like this nice one corner of my couch. And then when I look out over the landscape,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't look like this. And I feel like that is how my life is sometimes. It's like sometimes I'm just shoving a bunch of shit in a closet and it's messy, and other times things are just, you know, other things are wonderful. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like you and I both work so much in habit change with people, right? And you can't wait for the everything to be lined up.
It ain't
in your
never
life,
coming
right?
together. Yes.
And I think, I mean, a lot of the biggest thing that I feel like that does really hold people back from joy is that waiting.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like if we can get someone's nervous system to say, okay, now is a good enough time to do the thing that's scary, to take that leap, then what does the future hold in terms of potential?
Right. And we do, I mean, you and I are both athletes and we do this all the time. You know, you're always leaving a workout. It's good enough where it is. You
Yes.
can't go back, but
Yeah.
still you grow, you learn. There is an adaptation that happens every time, regardless of whether you had an amazing session, an okay session, just the showing up
Yep.
and going through it and getting to the end. That is the sauce. It is the juice, right? And everything comes from the habitry of just showing up.
Yes, yes, 100 million percent. And the really fascinating thing is that I feel like when it comes to allostatic load, the total
Hmm.
variety, the number of stressors and the intensity that women carry in their lives, I think the society at large pressures women to overshow up, right?
Yeah.
Um, and when we're constantly expected to take on so much allostatic load and not have the scaffolding, is what I like to call it, in place for adequate recovery, adequate rest. I mean, that's when we see so much negative symptomology.
Yes. 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 But it's hard. It's hard to convince people that you can do less. I mean, and people like, hello, I am people, right? But, it's even when you see it, when you feel it, I have so many examples of how I felt better with rest, or I've lived it and still I have to convince myself you've done enough. You've given enough. You can
Right?
sit down. You can read a book. You can read a book end to end, bitch. Like that is your right
Yes.
and your joy, right? The thing that I come back to is what am I doing it for? Or who am I doing it for? Or where am I trying to receive validation? Because there is sometimes for me this guilt that comes up only because I'm thinking about what other people might be thinking about me or what society would say about what I'm doing and not necessarily because I'm following my own internal compass.
100%, 100 million percent. And what's so fascinating is that I work with a lot of high performers. I work with a wide variety of CEOs, entrepreneurs, C-suite executives, and whatnot. And sometimes it's not about doing less. Sometimes it is just being about intentional and strategic
Mm-hmm.
with recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
talk so much about, like, you're not going to take a professional athlete and expect them to just be playing basketball at that level all day long with no micro break, right? That is just insane. Same thing with elite military units. And so it's how can we be super strategic with
Yes.
recovery? And that's a big fear I actually allay in people, is oftentimes it's not about doing less. It's how can we be exceptionally strategic, be exceptionally understanding of our own body, our own loads at different time of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And how can we take that awareness, use it as information, and be able to have a better plan throughout the day?
Right.
Which I call life logistics. Um,
I love
because
that.
that's what I feel like it is. Um, so it's sometimes it's often not about really doing less. Um, there was something else that you made me think of that I can't remember, and it'll come back to me.
Okay, yeah, it might come back. It might filter back in. I'm thinking of, well, one, I was listening to, oh gosh, dude, he talks about excellence, Brad something on the
Stolberg.
Ready State podcast. Yeah.
Yep.
And he was also talking about, everyone's gotten so into recovery, but sometimes you're not working hard enough to warrant the recovery that you're seeking. And that was a really interesting thought for me because we're constantly toggling. And what you said kind of reminded me of that. Your body, your life logistics, what you're doing, and a lot of what we see in the health and wellness landscape it's sometimes overgeneralized. Everybody should be doing this. Everybody should be doing that. And it's like, no, everyone should not. But
Mhm.
I also realized that given the state of healthcare and financial privilege and education and all kinds of stuff, like people don't always know or have access to personalized resources, or maybe they don't know how to listen to their bodies, or so it's just interesting, like, yeah, recovery itself, it's very much in my headspace right now.
Yes, dosing.
Yeah,
Dosing
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
is is exactly what I call it. And I see a couple general misconceptions along those lines
Okay.
of first, are you working hard enough, right? Um, I think that oftentimes people use exercise as output rather than as a channel. Um, I work with a
Mhm.
lot of people with ADHD, and ADHD meant for me, I just had to find a way to reorganize how my brain used energy, even with medicine, right? Um, and so, like, exercise for me personally is a necessary, essential daily output for ADHD. I cannot access the depths of critical thinking in my brain without adequate exercise. And I was thinking about this because I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, for me, that means like a half hour of like high intensity stuff at least, or an hour of slower state stuff. So I think one misconception is like, okay, in terms of output, like, how are you viewing the avenues in which you think you are
Mhm.
letting out energy or expending
Mhm.
energy, right? Or thought, right? Because
Mhm.
because mental energy, a lot of problem solving does take a high degree.
Yeah.
The second misconception that I really do see though is that recovery has to be long. And that couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
One of the things that I talk about is called recovery sprinkles. And a lot of people might disagree with me, but I count breath work as any time someone does 3 intentional breaths of any type throughout the day.
I mean, I have to agree with that. And when I am presenting, I will tell people, take 3 fucking deep breaths,
Yeah,
right? Like, it is literally enough to change your state.
yeah,
Period. I'm with you.
yeah.
So, yeah, go.
And one of the things, I mean, on my intake form, the question I asked was like, okay, how much time do you have a day? And I'm like, do you have 3 breaths anywhere, or do you have like 2 sprinkles of 3 minutes?
Right.
Or do you prefer to do like one little 10-minute thing during at the end of your day? Um, and so I think that as we're talking about how can people live a healthier, happier life,
Mhm.
you don't have to reinvent your own wheel.
Right.
Like, you take a look at your life as it is. Where do you need more micro points of recovery? Can you do a couple things in the elevator as you're
Mm.
going up from the ground floor
Mhm.
to your office?
Yes.
Most of my breath work I do is walking to the bathroom back and forth a
Right.
day. Like, I have found a breath that I do in the hallway, and those are my micro interventions once every couple of hours. So
You got
how can you allow yourself, and this is the convincing part that you were just talking about. How can you convince yourself to take these micro breaks throughout your day? And the why, 99% of the people that come to me, it's not for them. It's for the people that they love. And when you're showing up for your people as best as you want, then you have that trade-off of time versus the love of your people.
Yeah.
And that 3 breaths, those 3 minutes, that 10 minutes, whatever, feels so doable, right? Um, but it's about how can we make that trade-off be so seamlessly easy.
Yes.
Um, the uh, one one very fascinating example is I have a CEO who I work with who came to me, and it wasn't because of them. It's because this person's adult children were like, "We're scared you're gonna die.
Wow.
Like, we're
Yeah.
scared about your lifespan because
Right.
you're fine. You have high energy all day, even though you wake up every hour and a half, and at night every sleep
Wow.
cycle,
Wow.
and your performance is higher than ever. athleticism higher than ever, energy higher than ever, like joy in life, like all the outputs looked good, but it was really about showing up for the people that you love. So,
Yeah.
how can we make that trade off seamless?
Literally so many things. I mean, we like
You're
what has
taking
it been?
notes.
What it's been 15 minutes of like so my brain is going like fireworks everywhere.
This
Okay.
Diet Coke is not helping me thinking.
So the homepage of your website says rewire anxiety and stress with science-backed breathwork and ice baths.
Mm.
Rewire is a strong word.
Mhm.
It is a bold claim. When I read that, as someone who, after my dad died, I carried an emergency prescription of Xanax in my purse for like 15 years. My
Yeah.
doctor was like, if you take it, great. But some people just feel comfortable knowing that an intervention is there if they need it. Right.
Right.
And so when I think about interventions that go beyond relief in the moment, that could literally translate to relief long term,
Mm.
I have to pause and be like, okay, this is a big deal. So tell me more about how that works, why that works. Is it the cold? Is it the breath? Is it the combination of the cold and the breath?
I love it. I love it. And I I mean, you've built your own website, right? I sat on that headline for about I played with that wording, with that one particular word, rewire, for 2 weeks.
I
My
believe it.
designer was furious. They were like, "I needed the word." I was like, "Ah." The reason why I chose that particular word is because we use a combination of foundational breathing mechanics. So the way that you breathe 21,000 times per day can convey to your mind that you are in an emergency, or it can convey to your mind that you are on a beach in the Dominican Republic. Because there's a bidirectional mind body relationship.
Mhm.
So we use foundational breathing mechanics as one. How can we help you be able to take a 360-degree diaphragmatic breath whenever you want, and to make your general breathing convey more calm to your brain all day long?
Okay.
That's one. That's kind of your 24/7 foundation. From there, we also get to know people and based on their psychophysiology, um, whether someone is really triggered by intentional hyperventilation or they have so much energy and that's a great tool for them. Whether breath holds make someone absolutely freak out and lose their shit, or whether a breath hold is like, oh my goodness, this is such a great moment of stillness.
Wow.
We use I get to know people and then develop their toolbox
Okay.
of acute interventions, the relief stuff, right?
Right.
And what I that's why I love using life logistics to say, okay, how can these tools fit into your exact life?
Mhm.
And I have some people that I've worked with that I might create a more schedule based protocol for them, or I have people that we've gotten to know every different emotion in their body that comes up regularly these days. We've gotten to know every body sensation associated with every emotion, and we have a different breathing tool for every emotion.
Wow.
And that's that person's hyper personalized toolkit. From there, we use personalized cold water immersion. We curate the temperature, the degree of body immersion. I start some people sitting on the edge with scuba booties, and how long someone is in to be able to practice calming their nervous system down. And I'm patenting a technology to be able to investigate that phenomena and how it correlates with other symptomology, the degree of anxiety, the degree of menopausal symptoms, right? I'm very, very curious about that. And that's where I want to spend a lot of my time on research. So when we have this really cool system
Right.
of foundational breathing mechanics, acute tools to call upon, and practice using them in a non emergent state, but that still triggers the same reaction. And then we can titrate that dosage of stress up as someone gets more acclimated to be able to better regulate. Then what we see is, as I'm checking in with people's mood, patience, sleep, headaches, digestion, um, attitude, anxiety, stress, every single week, we're able to see what's working, what's not. But oftentimes, within a matter of weeks, a couple months, if I'm working with someone weekly, we'll see that repatterning because someone is spending time telling their brain, we do not have to walk the path of an emergency making me flip out.
Right.
When you practice somatic tools and awareness, just really getting to know your own body and how you react, then you're able to, it's like carving a new path in a forest, is what I say. And so every single time you practice those tools via neuroplasticity, that wiring gets a little bit easier for your brain to find that path. And then you start to messily, because we're human, messily start to walk that path a little bit more and to be able to call upon those tools. So that's when I say rewire, I really use the metaphor of driving often. Diaphragmatic breathing feels so clunky. It takes so much focus when I first teach it to someone. But a big sign of progress is, oh yeah, it was thoughtless. I did it on my way to work today. Right? That's rewiring.
Right.
That is changing your tendency of how you're going to respond based on your awareness and understanding of your own body. And when people tell me that been able to change something like that, I'm like, you just changed your whole world. And that is so powerful.
Wow. I'm thinking of two things immediately. One, that quote, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And it
Ooh, I didn't
sounds
know that one.
like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
right. You have to, well, one, create a system, which it sounds like that's kind of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But also, kind of whatever you practice is what's going to be. Whatever the default network or pathway or whatever, like that's when shit hits the fan, that's what you're going back to, not what you aspire to be, but what you've practiced over and over again.
So true.
I'm like,
Well,
let me get on my soapbox real
oh,
quick,
no.
real
And
fast.
I just wanted to sit with that for a moment because the I talk about the level of emotional arousal that people are
Mm-hmm.
at. And when someone is already, I on a 1 to 10, 10 being highest, right? 10 is panic attack.
Okay.
Someone's riding day to day at 4. Your tendency to default to old patterns is more likely the higher you get. And I've, I do, I am a trauma informed practitioner. I take trauma, developmental trauma, attachment trauma, generational trauma, like incredibly seriously because yes, it is about rewiring, but it's also about reframing a lot.
Come
And
on. Come on. Yes. Like, let's go. Yes.
let's go. And it is so fascinating. And this is why the people that I work with, where I see the fastest progress, I'm one of a team, right? I'm one of a team, and the person's already doing a tremendous amount of work and is invested in talk therapy, or they've done a lot. They've done as far as they can go in that, and they're like, there's still something here, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But I bring that up because when you're talking about reframing those deep seated attitudes, reactions, energy, you can't just breathe over it,
Yeah.
bro. Like
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't work that way.
you have to take that knot And part of and this is why the rewiring is reframing, is because it's like, okay, I I know that this thought makes me activated, right?
Mhm.
People have to find the container that they feel safe enough to ask why.
Mhm.
Why? Is that
Mhm.
how my mother reacted? Is that how is did our family like did our family have some interaction in that my great grandparent, like, right, like, why? Where did it come from? Because all it's just all inherited reactions. And so as we're saying that, it's like it is a mind body system that needs
Yes.
to practice under pressure.
Yes.
And so that's why sometimes I even have had people, for a lighter example, I've had people in an ice bath, like I've had singers, and I've been like, you're singing your solo
Mhm.
in 49-degree water up to your neck,
Yeah.
right? And it's how close can we get to the real thing and have you react. So I I tailor my coaching in a plunge too, to be so I will put a CEO at a board table, and I'll be like, here's the emergency you just reacted to last week. Let's run that back. And
Right.
I'm gonna track you as we're going back through this. And I want
Right.
to see how you react. And I want to see if we can change how you react with that, with either that same or highly modified thought pattern, right? A lot of what I do with people is patience. And a patience protocol anyone can use, because I have yet to see this one fail, but I call it 1 2 3. It's when you notice yourself going, and when I notice myself going, I feel like a bull with horns. Like I can feel the horns growing out of my traps. And the 1 2 3 is one breath,
Okay.
two body sensations. So where do you feel yourself reacting? Mine is always my forehead, and it's always my traps with impatience. And then tell yourself these 3 words: not a tiger. Because the thing in front of you is not a saber-toothed tiger, but you have to repattern that
Right.
to yourself.
Right.
So I so hear you as we're diving into this. Like, we are deeply wired creatures. And um that's why in the field of who's how can we make all of these tools more accessible to people? I think, yes, we as practitioners need to have a depth of knowledge
Mhm.
in our particular fields, especially in wellness,
Right.
but we need breadth of communication with other practitioners to say, I need to hand this area of this person off to you, right?
Yes. Yes, for sure. We do kind of need to be talking to each other a little bit more because it kind of feels like there's sciencey stuff happening over here and there's like fitnessy stuff happening over here and nutrition over there. And then, a lot of us are interested in all of the things. And sometimes it's our scope of practice and sometimes it's not our scope of practice. And we need to have people in our network that we trust to be like, I'm outside of my depth here. Like, this person needs this, or can we collaborate on a workshop so that my people can learn what you have and vice versa, whatever. It's a lot of information and there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation competing with it. So yeah, we need each other a lot.
We really do. And a massive thing that I'm seeing in, I mean, you can even talk about the in the trauma landscape too. Like, there's just a really incredible paper kind of dissecting and very rightfully challenging polyvagal theory, which is the foundation
Yeah.
cornerstone of what a lot of trauma work rests on.
Right.
And these it was, I think there's like 30 authors on on this incredible paper, and they kind of pick it apart, this theory. And even if people, listeners, you don't know what it is, the point I'm getting at is like, I think even when an individual is not like I know obviously I know nothing. I take on Socrates like view in this world. Like I know nothing.
Right.
I and so when we know that, okay, we're trying to be a evidence-based practitioner, great. But even in peer review literature, like
There you go.
the peer review process is such a mess where it really depends on who you have as reviewers. There's not a great way to write commentary back unless you're writing in like a counter article and you can get it published in the same journal, right?
Wow.
Um, but I think what really just what perplexed me, especially uh with the drama unfolding around polyvagal theory, is like I'm astounded that it has been such a it has gotten so much attention despite its like gaping holes in this theory. And even though these authors were trying their best, right? Like it's when it comes to evidence-based practice, it's kind of like who's first to the mic.
Mhm.
And I like I I'm excited in this age of collaboration where we can be doing more digitally and whatnot. But the other interesting thing about AI too is I mean, if someone's trying to be an evidence-based practitioner and they want to say, hey, what papers? AI hallucinates papers all the time. All
Wow.
the time. I've caught so many. I'm like, that doesn't
Wow.
exist because I know that author's work and they never wrote a paper on that. And I will be like, hey, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
you're
so it's people are trying their best out there, but
yeah.
there is no substitute for like high quality human based practice. That's it.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
just not.
Fully agree. Fully agree. Besides people telling you how they feel, how else are you kind of tracking progress over time? And then with that, what's an ideal amount of time to work with you one on one?
So when it comes to how else I'm tracking progress, Dr. Belisa Vranich is a brilliant psychologist who created the breathing IQ. And we published this in Frontiers in Physiology last year. It's an anthropometric index of your ability to take a diaphragmatic breath. So
Okay.
it's really cool. I'm able to see people's progress in being able to take that breath at rest.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
just super, super, super cool. And I'm excited to do to explore that more and more
Hmm.
pilot studies to explore correlations between your ability to take a good breath and anxiety. Because
Yeah.
I've seen it time and time again. That was a massive unlock in my own journey as well.
Hmm.
Um and it has been beautiful to see people then have breath awareness and report stories throughout their week back to me to say, hey, wow, was in that meeting and someone said something that like really attacked my work. And I noticed myself hold my breath. So I took a big breath, right?
Hmm.
It so part of that is awareness. The second thing too is when people tell me about their consistency of interventions throughout the week.
Okay.
Um, that is amazing. Like I'll have someone be like, I actually did like a 60-second body scan every day during lunch this week. And I can see it in them in how they're talking to me about their week. They have more acute awareness.
Okay.
Um, I am also there's a lot more we need to learn about CO2 sensitivity. So I don't like to make tons of broad-based claims about that, but that's something that I like to explore and just kind of watch within people
Okay.
to explore CO2 sensitivity.
What's
Um,
CO2 sensitivity mean?
so basically there's some people that if they hold their breath
Uh-huh.
or it triggers a massive five alarm fire in their brain to say, "Oh my
Okay.
gosh, we're suffocating," even though we've been holding our breath for 3 minutes.
Okay.
So some people have a lot of difficulty exhaling. They can't slow exhale. So sometimes I say fast breath, fast mind. So
Okay.
if I'm seeing someone be more able to slow their breath down without taking in a higher breath volume, that's a big sign of progress to me as well. Um, and then if I see someone's down regulation capacity increase throughout the week, in the tub, then I have yet to hear that not correlate with other improvements in
Okay.
their life.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then the final thing too is um, there's a protocol that I created for working with individuals with panic attacks. And it is a mix of foundational breathing mechanics, acute breathing tools, and cold water immersion, but also a super micro titrated protocol of intentional hyperventilation, because usually these individuals are very sensitive to a racing heart or shortness of breath. And when you
Right.
can desensitize someone from the somatic sensation, it doesn't matter what the trigger is, that sensation doesn't freak them out as much. So
Oh,
for example, with these individuals, if I see their progress, I have started with people that could not take one deep fast breath. It freaked them out. When we weeks later are up to a minute and they're totally unbothered, um, I've seen some really cool turnarounds from work like that.
mm, wow. And then, so how long should someone work with you before they're, dare I say, rewired, to bring that word back into it?
Yeah. I think just like physical therapy, it depends on how much you are able to do your homework day to day. And when I say homework, the reason that I like working one to one with people is getting to know what capacity do you have, right?
Mm.
So I never go beyond three things, but if someone does their one thing every day, like awesome, great. If they do nothing, then
Right.
we're not getting where we need to be.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
so I mean, I start at minimum with 8-week packages,
Okay.
8 session packages, which actually someone can use has 6 months to use, but I really do prefer to get like a once a week head start for like 4 weeks at least, and then
Okay.
some people like to space it out.
Okay.
But it's really interesting because I call life this fuel, and we are each a tea kettle, and and in the process of working together, we often get to know like how often do you need to let off steam and how much steam and kind of when. And so I do have people that have been working with me for once a week for like 2 years.
Wow.
Because it just ends up that we get to a point where their mechanics are great. They're not bothered by anything anymore. They're doing great at regulating in the tub, but they end up just using our container as their weekly steam let off.
Okay.
And it's interesting. Sometimes someone will go away for 3 weeks and then they'll have a flare up of chronic pain, or they'll lose all their habits, and they'll be like, Rachel, you went on like I went on vacation and my therapist went on vacation and you went on vacation, and so I lost all the structure.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was the long answer. Short answer, I would say about 1.5 to 2 months.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. If you have the awareness that this might be something that you want to try, 2 months feels like it's a very doable investment, right?
Yeah.
You're not saying a year, right?
Exactly,
Like,
exactly, and my whole goal is, like, confident, independent regulation. I mean,
mm,
if I want people to live their lives, I don't want them to be tied to me, like, use me as a
right.
resource,
Right.
but, like, you don't wanna be stuck with a driving instructor for your whole life.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
Totally.
wanna go take a drive, man, um,
Exactly.
which is super interesting.
Mm. Okay. Why did you start? Why, where did this come from for you?
Yeah. So, I took my first ice bath when I was living in Tulum, Mexico. I had just moved there, and on my second day there, I was invited to take an ice bath. Prior to this, I grew up in Boston. I went to school and college at Villanova and Philly. I took a teaching major, and I taught for the first 3 years at an international school in Amman, Jordan, for 3 years, teaching high
Wow.
school chemistry and biology. And then I moved to Philly and taught in Philadelphia Public School District for another 3 years, burned out during COVID. Then had started a company as a strength trainer and nutrition coach, teaching women online. And it was through that that I found myself in Mexico. So day two, Mexico, invited to take this ice bath. Really not keen on doing it because I had just super intentionally moved from Boston to Mexico to never be cold again.
Right.
But the problem was I didn't have any friends, so I had to say yes. So I
Yes.
say yes, and I go up to this ice bath a couple days later, and I was guided how to breathe, what to
Okay.
think.
Okay.
And during that first experience, I stayed in for 6 minutes, but more importantly, I felt this really dramatic shift where I felt this overwhelming calm in my body. I felt this like deep relaxation. I felt this inner warmth towards myself. I felt like just almost like confidence and like a lot of self compassion and love. And I got out of that thing feeling like the Hulk, mentally and physically. And it felt like I could do anything, right?
Mhm.
And what really perplexed me was that I had been looking for those sensations for the last 10 years because a decade before that, 6 days after I graduated high school, I witnessed the tragic death of my high school boyfriend in a car accident.
So sorry.
Yeah. And the output of that was anxiety and depression that really altered the trajectory of my life throughout college and as a young adult. And to numb that pain, the doctors, the therapist, the whole kit and caboodle, put me on 4 meds: trazodone to sleep, Ritalin for ADHD, and Celexa and Wellbutrin as mood stabilizers. So for 10 years, I was on one pill to fall asleep and three to keep me stable during the day. And so, for that stupid bucket of water to have given me everything I had been looking for that no medication, no therapist, no doctor, not even my career as a strength trainer and nutrition coach could give me, I was like, I gotta learn more about this.
Mhm.
So I did a little experiment on myself, and for the next 100 days, I took an ice bath every day and did breath work as well. And I started to feel really good. And after about a month, I reached out to my doctor and I was like, hey, can we get off some of this stuff? And she
Yeah.
said, yeah. So we gradually, over the next 5 months, weaned down from 4 medications to one. And ever since then, I have dedicated my life to studying breathwork and cold water immersion. I've I've taken every cert I can get my hands on, and continue to try to create an evidence based approach to this. Um, right, it started with just pop ups and group workshops in Tulum. Goodness, when I finally moved back to Boston, I was like blowing up tubs in parks and I had flyers up and I was like, hey, who wants to come? Didn't have a car, was door dashing ice, hooking up the hose to dog water spigots in the park. Um,
Oh
when
my
it got
god.
cold, my husband was gonna kill me because I was like, I still love this community that we're building. And so when I moved in with an ice bath that sat in front of our TV because it was what I needed every single day. And so for these workshops, when it got cold, the flyer still said, just like sign up here. And after someone signed up, I would like do a loose Google of them. And if I didn't think they were going to be a serial killer, I was like, here's our address. Come this Sunday.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and then after that, we started after the group workshops. I did one at physics PT in Needham, and Jay Lee and I connected, and I started seeing one-to-one clients there.
Mhm.
Uh, eventually, he was on an hourly basis, and eventually he was like, "You want to move into the office?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great."
Yeah, I
So
do.
I
Wow.
have this is my home office, but the work office is a like a 10 by 10, 10 by 12 room that my clients call the Zen Den. And it's has tubs in it. It has a big fluffy rug, has blankets, it has pillows, it has eye masks, and I see about 27 clients a week there. Um, and it's I am so grateful for every single person that I get to interact with every
Mhm.
day because if there's anything I've learned, if there's anything I've learned, it's that we all have our shit. We all have our shit. And how we make sense of that, how we deal with it, how we cope with it, kind of full circle moment here is messy. And everyone is just trying their best. I wholeheartedly believe that. And people just want to show up their best for the people that they love. And so I am just deeply, deeply, deeply grateful that I get to share tools that have worked for me, that have that I'm trying to put more weight behind with evidence, with research behind, that they've been able to work for a lot of other people too.
That's just incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Is there a phrase or word or piece of advice that you live your life by that you could give to us as a parting gift?
I am safe.
Wow.
Those are the 3 words that anytime I notice myself drifting, it's I am safe, and sometimes a follow-up to that is I can do hard shit.
Mhm.
And how I think that's part of rewiring. It's not only about changing your body response, it's about changing your internal monologue
Right.
and being able to not only convince yourself that you're safe, but to be able to like yourself, to be able to love yourself, to be able to curate the life that you know you deserve. That is the art of living, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes. Fully agree. No notes. No. Can you please tell everyone where they can find you, how they can stay in touch, book an appointment, anything that we would need to know to be connected to you?
Yeah, of course. So our website is icebathboston.com, and you can just click the book now button and it'll take you to our contact form, where you'll just put in a couple things about yourself. If you select the I'm a client, I want to work with Rachel as a client, you'll immediately be sent a form to select a time for a quick consult call, just so you understand what I do, so I can make sure I'm an appropriate fit for you. Um, and then from there, people come in for an initial 90-minute evaluation where we take a look at your breathing mechanics, do some breath work, you get in the tub, and you see if you enjoy if this approach is a right fit for you. And also, I have a retreat coming up at Kripalu with my mentor, Samuel Whiting, which I'm super excited about in
Very
April.
cool.
So if you live far from Needham, Massachusetts, or you don't have time on your hands, if you want to come to the retreat, you're more than welcome. And I try to host workshops on a monthly or quarterly basis. So you can also find all of those on the website too. And
Okay.
feel free to follow us on Instagram. I'm trying to post more in educational tools and whatnot on there. The handle is just Ice Bath Boston.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. Thank you for saying yes and for sharing everything you did. I feel like I needed more time to just like just like shoot the shit and like talk about all the things. I'm like, no, but I have so much more to say, which is a
My
good sign.
mom told like this is part of why like I remember my initial visits used to be 60 minutes and they were 90, and my mom was like, Rachel, you have a gift and it's a blessing and a curse. Your curse is it's talking.
Yeah, man, when I am enjoying it, when I'm not enjoying it, I'm like, okay, thank you, bye. Like when I am, I'm like, no, we need all day. We need all day. But we're busy. We have stuff to do. So thank you. Everybody go follow Ice Bath Boston. Keep in touch with Rachel. Okay,
Thank you
that's
so
all.
much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.